ACL Nation, welcome into another episode of ACL Live. It is October 16th. I know you guys all care about this. We are 10 days away from my birthday, the official one,
Wow.
not the one Josh Keck throws out there every month. But most importantly, we got Open number 2 coming up this weekend. We're going to be in Des Moines, Iowa. Open number 1 was amazing. Had a lot of pros show out there for the media day, the ACL draft, and I think overall was a huge success. So I'm kind of interested to see how Des Moines, Iowa will kind of follow up with that. I'm K9, joined here by Bernie. Bernie, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. So, how did you like your draft experience? Being up there, leading in. I could tell you were nervous, but you handled it well.
Yeah, I was nervous at the beginning just because, man, like you go through the speech in your head 1,000 times. When I was like doing speeches in high school and college for class, I never got nervous. I looked forward to the moment where I was up there giving my speech. I was well rehearsed, well, researched. I knew what I was going to say.
Hmm.
But just something about sitting next to Jeff and Michelle and Anthony is kind of like, fish out of water. One of these guys don't belong up here, and it,
Ah,
I felt like their professionalism is way above mine. I don't think that's why the ACL hired me by any means. Like I'm not the exact screaming picture of professionalism. I go out there, I have fun, I keep it entertaining, and that was kind of a more, I guess, professional environment that I'm used to. So I don't know. I added my
yeah.
own little feel to it, but sure enough, man, the
Hey, man,
beginning
they let
part.
me run around that joint, so you're doing all right.
Yeah, I think overall, man, we still had plans that we didn't get to execute. So it's a good thing that we were able to execute that well, but we still got some more in the tank for next year.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and it's funny. Open number one. Can we talk? I mean, what is up with Alan Rawls, dude? That
He's good.
guy wins Open number one, then he wins the Southeast Conference, which is loaded, right? I mean, that's going to be a harder thing to win than some of the Opens, frankly. And the guy is unreal. Guy is unreal.
Yeah, and I watched Borderline on my long drive out to Nebraska, as I just came back from Nebraska for the Midwest Conference, and you guys still don't have him number one.
Because I mean, I look at it as a season thing. Like, as a matter of fact, it'll come out tomorrow around the ACL, and that kind of came up. And like me, whenever I put my, Jeff, I think Jeff's a little bit more like this is my top 10 right now, right? And when
Mhm.
I'm thinking top 10, these are the 10 people I think are gonna. This is how the season's gonna end, right? That's what I'm thinking in my head when I do it. And so maybe I should do it right this second, because if I do it right this second, then you're taking out a ton of players that you're putting in people that aren't better than other people if you
Well,
do
I
it
mean, it's
that
the thing
way.
right now. You take Alex Rawls for example. Alex Rawls is basically on IR, and
Right.
so is Derek Collins. So it's like you take the players out that aren't really good enough right now to win a long day's worth of brackets and stuff like that, and you actually show people what's hot right now. It's kind of what we're doing here with these top 5 players to watch. We get players that we are interested in seeing, players
Yeah.
that are hot. But if you're
That's
going to
just
do
not
a
how I
show every
approach it. Yeah.
if you're going to do a show every single week, I mean, you got to mix it up. Otherwise, you can leave Jamie Graham and Mark at
I,
the top.
my opinion, I didn't want to do a top 10 list until the season got going, until nationals. Jeff wants to do it every week, which is fine. So maybe I'll have to start approaching. I was like, yeah, I just, without a couple of months in the bag, I mean, do we really? I mean, I think there's a great, like, this is my who I think, this is my preseason predictions for top 10, right? But then after that, do you really need it again for a couple months? But I mean, because quite frankly, if you look at let's say analogous to another sport, you have your top 25 rankings in football or basketball in college, say, well, those don't really change much until you
Mhm.
get halfway through the season and then people start playing each other and then you have some real changes. But for the most part, it stays kind of the same for the first 3-4 weeks of the season. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I'll be going through my list that I made last year. So I made my list before the season, or basically like around the same time, November, and I had my top so and so players. I remember I had I think Nico number 28 and Jeremy Frazier number 25, and I think those guys did pretty well. But I don't even remember where everyone finished. So I want to go through
yeah,
my list of where I had them last year. I want to see, okay, like this one's right on, this one's +3, +25, or I missed them by 200 spots. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
want to see
yeah.
if I If I get 5 right, I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have some that are just way off. I mean, like, I mean, would you have Josh Holland down in what the 70s or 80s?
I think I
I
might
wouldn't
have
have.
Josh 10 last year, to be honest with you. So yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so I mean, some of those are going to be way off, but then I would imagine you've got 5 pretty close minimum.
I hope so. I hope so. But let me ask you this, man, before we take our first break. So if you were to do it with the top players right now, would Alan Rawls be your number 1?
I mean, it has to be. He has to be right this second the best player on the planet. Right this second.
Doesn't lose, man.
Just doesn't. He's not losing right now. So I mean, yeah, right this second, Alan Rawls is the number 1 player in the cornhole world.
But before that
That's
match
crazy.
started, Tony Smith went up to the court. Now I don't know if Alan Rawls heard Tony or if maybe there's something there. I don't know. But Tony Smith said something to Alan Rawls along the lines of, that trash talk gets you motivated or something. So I don't know if there's something there where Alan's playing with a chip on his shoulder, or maybe he didn't hear him, or he just ignored him, or maybe there's bad blood. I don't know. But Tony did not have that same look on his face halfway through that match as he did before he started. So,
and it's funny. We talked about it today. If you put 20 pros up, right, and just watch them silhouette, right? You just watch them silhouette, watch them bat, watch them throw, watch the bag in the air, but you don't know who it is. You're not picking Alan's throw out of that 20. And but yet here he is, huh? As far like no, I'm just saying let's just silhouette the players so you can't tell who it is, and all you see is their motion, and you get to see their bag, flight, all that stuff. You're not picking him out of that group. I mean, it's not the prettiest bag. I mean, it's not the prettiest bag. It's not any, but he's finding ways to win. That's impressive, man. And kudos, hats off to Alan Rawls.
Yeah, he's going to go 0 for the rest of the season now. That's all.
Yeah, now that everyone's talking about him,
yeah, we cursed him. All right, chat. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through our top singles and our top doubles like we normally do. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to start off with Bernie singles. See you right after this. All right, ACL Nation, welcome back in. Rick Kaufman, appreciate the compliment. Patrick, first-time viewer, welcome in, man. We're going to have some fun here today. We're going to start things off by going through who Bernie wants to watch here at the Open number 2 in Des Moines, Iowa. So, Bernie, go ahead and take us through it.
Thank you, sir. Number 1, Jimmy Humans. And I have him number 1 for one reason. I'm jealous. He just spent time in Hawaii skydiving. How awesome is that? I'm so jealous. How hard is it to refocus on your cornhole career after jumping out of an airplane in Hawaii? Man, that's got to be something else. But it always seems this time of year where Jimmy really puts up huge numbers in the Opens. And so, I'm curious to see if his game, it's not a big break. obviously, in our sport, right? I mean, you have your World Championships early August. Pro Invitational with Spencer's, usually late August. So there's not this just grand, 3-4 months off season. It's a month and a half basically. Meanwhile, people are still playing in their local blind draws, but this is usually the time of year Jimmy's kind of making noise. So I'm curious to see how where his game is stacked up presently.
Yeah, maybe that's what he needed. I mean, just to kind of get away from cornhole for a day and go have some fun with Brandon. And
That's so awesome, man.
Not think about it. I mean, jumping out of a plane's on my list. It's something that I don't want to do alone, though. I kind of want it to be like an important experience,
Yeah. I was going to do it last year. We paid for it. We still have to go do it. The weather knocked us out. We've still got our paid for trip somewhere, like that place outside of Atlanta, to jump out of a plane. Yeah, I got to do it.
Sorry, I kind of feel like Jimmy's got a point to prove this season because of the whole off season with Kyle Malone and then making that trade. I mean, he's kind of at the forefront, which is where he wants to be. He wants to be at the front of our conversations, but
sure.
Time to let the boards and the bags do the talking for you.
Yeah. Number 2, Joe Neistat. Maybe the most, we talked a lot about Alex Rawls last year, the most quiet number 2 season ever, right? How about Joe Neistat having a super quiet top 10 season? Yeah. He finished 10th. I mean, it's just so. But I mean, if you would, something tells me if you were to ask Joe K and he was honest, he'd probably tell you that last season was kind of a letdown. Yet he finished 10th overall with the amount of depth and the amount of talent in the ACL. That's pretty impressive, man. So he's playing with Jordan Power this weekend in doubles, and then got singles. I almost feel like even though he finished 10th, I feel like he still has a lot to prove as a player. I think he still feels that people don't look at him the same way they might look at a Tony Smith or some others. So I think there's a little chip there for Joe K. And I'm once again, we're early in the season. So just like with Jimmy, I'm interested to see where his head's at and where his game's at.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, he's one of these type of players, though, that where if he elevates himself to 10, then he wants 5. And if he gets to 5,
exactly.
He wants 3, he wants 1. Like he is never satisfied until it's the overall championship, and that's the mindset you got to have. I mean, Joe K, very smart player, knows how to execute on the boards. Just a couple rounds get away from him every now and then. They cost him a game, but he's there with everybody.
Yeah, it's funny. I think sometimes with Schermerhorn last season, the way that they kind of talked, and it was almost a way to kind of calm each other down, but a lot of that kind of, interplay they had back and forth, I think got in the way a little bit of their games last season. I think it was almost too much. And so I'm interested to see if he's kind of got his head right, got his focus right for this season. Number 3, Matt Guy. For a player of his quality and what he's meant to the sport, can you still be underrated as a player?
Well, I mean, throwing a 10.83 over 200 and some rounds and leading the entire pack is just not good enough. He's going to have to do something better.
Right. I mean, the game has progressed a little bit. So that style, he's still Matt Guy. I mean, with that style, he's still going to run very deep in tournaments. But I almost feel like he's underrated as a player right now. I think sometimes people are looking past him, and I don't even see how that's possible. Right. Once again, the statistical leader for the ACL and singles last season. Again, he's always going to be a high PPR guy, and and if you catch him on one of those days where his airmail's on, I don't care what all you're doing, he's still going to be good enough to win. So. Now playing with Brett, obviously in doubles, that's a different thing than singles. But I almost feel like he's taken a breath this year. I think last year there was a lot of pressure on Matt. People like me didn't have him in the top 10. And I think there was a lot of other people like yourself. We didn't have him in our top 10s. And I think maybe he felt pressure to kind of answer that. This season, I think he's playing free. And I think he's just kind of going to kind of enjoy himself, which I think is dangerous for the rest of the field.
I hope so. It's better when he's good.
Yeah, 100%. Number 4, Landon Crabtree, a guy that I knew coming out of the college ranks. Obviously, throws a reverse spin, which is still fascinating to me, how you can do that without destroying your elbow. I just don't see how you can do it. I mean, kind of like a slider, I guess. I mean, but I think he's got a lot of game. I think there's a lot of game here, and I think he's a player that's starting to feel himself a little bit as a player. I think he's starting to realize exactly how good he can be. So I'm curious to see. And this isn't open number one. Open number one was stacked. It was much more like a national, right? This one, great players, but there's some openings here if you knock off one or two along the way. So I'm interested just to kind of watch his path this weekend.
Yeah, I got a chance to see Landon a lot this weekend. He was at the Midwest Conference Championships this weekend, and he was on fire. He was absolutely lights out. I believe it was the doubles finals championship. He was the best player there with Justin Lang, Ryan Trader, and Matt Troxel, and he was just absolutely lights out until the final round where he threw a bag in front of the board, and I'm sure he wants me not to mention that. But, I mean, that's kind of what you're going to get with Landon, though, is Landon does have the skill to compete with pretty much anybody. But there is going to be a mistake round that's going to cost him. And I think in that moment, just in a conference championship, it got a little bit too big for him. I want to see him execute all the way through a bracket in the open finals. But I do have to agree with you. He is coming to his own right now, and I think he's going to make some noise this year.
Yeah, number 5, finishing off my 5 to watch. I've always loved his game, Isidro Herrera. It's so to me, if I was going to tell someone how to throw a bag, I think the way that Isidro does it, like there's no wasted motion, right? There's not a lot of hitches. It's very free, very flowing. It's very easy to repeat. I just don't know if his focus has been completely on the boards the last couple of years, but to me, still a player that, you catch him, 2019, 2020 version of Isidro Herrera, he can still cause a lot of damage in a tournament. So I like watching the guy play, and I'm not putting him on my list because I think he's a danger to win the tournament, even though you never know. But I just love the motion. I love how simple it is. I just love watching him play.
Yeah, I think we would all actually love to see Cedro take down a bracket, wouldn't we?
Yes.
Like if it happens, we were all gonna be like, yes, like we're all rooting for this guy. But I mean, Cedro, it's like you're talking about simple. He just basically grabs a bag. It's kind of like, that feels like 27 feet right there. Like that's
same motion every time. And you can never tell if he's playing well or playing bad, right? He's just kind of going about his business. I just love watching him play.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of scary though, because if Cedro, you're talking about his focus, if he were to give it everything he had and basically put it all in on the boards, practice and play all the time, he could be ridiculous. But it also kind of is upsetting. It's like some of these pros, they're just that good where it's like, it's just fun for them now. You know what I mean? They're not, I don't know if Cedro's playing for a goal. You know what I mean? He's just
Exactly. It's almost kind of like a hobby, but yet he's still requalifying in his hobby as one of the best players in the world, which is scary to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take another break. When we come back, we'll go through my singles players to watch in Des Moines, Iowa. Be right back. All right, chat. Welcome back. We are going to go through my singles players here in just a little bit. I saw a comment from Duncan Clemmer said I sound like I'm in the back of a hallway. Yeah. So basically, Bernie,
Uh oh.
I'm going through another crisis. So I don't know what I want my office to look like, man. Got freshly painted walls here. I think I'm going to move it upstairs. We upgraded the internet. We had them put the modem up here. So I'm stuck because I'm like leaning on the rule of cool right now, where I have a desk, but like I have an open space right now where I can get like a cool desk. You know what I mean? I can get one of those Vera desks right now in this open
Oh
space,
yeah.
entire setup, and like I was like, how cool would it be to kind of be doing these like ACL live shows, standing up, and like look at my wall back here. I could.
Oh yeah.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
I'm at the kitchen table, man. I'm at a circular kitchen table with a little pump. Where's the pumpkin? Little pumpkin behind me. Got a yeah. I don't have an office. I am not cool enough to have an office.
So, chat, you guys are kind of quiet. Feel free to interact. I'll read some comments along the way, but let's go ahead and dive into my singles players to watch. I'll start at the top there with Mason Trader. So, Mason Trader is the brother of Ryan Trader. And you know how hot Ryan was last
Mm-hmm.
first Open, took down his bracket, ran into Ryan Wiedenfeld at the Midwest Conference this last weekend. Ryan took down 3 trophies, juniors, singles, and doubles. The only person to beat him in the singles bracket was Mason Trader. So
Mm-hmm.
Mason Trader took down the king seat. Mason Trader coming off of what you talked about, an elbow injury with Landon. He had a little bit of an elbow situation there for him. And then he was just now healed, got right back into it, and he's just throwing lights out. So Mason Trader is a name for all you guys to look out for. He was throwing lights out, throws a little bit stickier bag than Ryan does. But I mean, he's got some hop on his rolls, his bounces. He's very accurate. So I look forward to watching him in singles this weekend.
What's the age difference? Who's older with
Gosh,
Mason and
man,
Ryan?
for a second I thought they were twins. They might be twins. I don't even know. I'm close with the
I,
family. I can even tell you. But if they're not twins, they're really really close.
okay, a lot of buzz, obviously because of what you just said. He showed out, and he's not a pro, but he apparently was just once again. I mean, I think Ryan Trader, after getting a chance to see him now more than once or twice, getting a chance to watch him play, I think he's that dude. Even though he's only 13, yeah, I mean, I think he is that dude. And for his brother. Yeah, for his brother to be able to kind of be the only one to get, but sometimes that's a little bit misleading because when you're brothers, you don't have that fear intimidation factor. You play together all the time. Whereas Mason might go up against a Jamie Graham or a Tony Smith and have a completely different experience than playing against his brother, right?
These were 21-20, 21-19, 21-17 games. They weren't like they were just goofing around. They were serious. They were playing.
Oh, for sure.
So I like Mason, but I mean, if you got Ryan Trader as your practice buddy, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah. Speaking of iron sharpens iron, you want to watch Matt Guy? I want to watch Brett Guy this weekend. Brett just had a birthday as well. Happy birthday to Brett. But I think that whenever you look at Matt Guy teaming up with Jamie Graham or whoever Matt Guy's partners may be, you kind of base that player off of how they do in singles. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And Brett Guy has always been a really, really good doubles player. But, he's a king himself. He's taken down an entire season before, and I want to see him get back to that form. Now he's a year older. Maybe he's wiser and can do some different things. But I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a storyline. But bottom line is I want to see Brett Guy emerge in the singles division. He has good enough runs, but not great runs.
Right. Yeah, I wonder with Brett. I think once again there's going to be a giant chip on his shoulder coming into the season. I wonder with Brett if we've gotten so deep talent-wise that it's hard to get 5, 6, 7 games in a row. You know what I mean? Playing at your A+ level, but you're going to have a drop off here and there, and then all of a sudden you have 2 bad games and it's over, right? And I'm curious. I wonder if maybe the talent's just gotten so deep that it's tough, man. It is super, super difficult, especially at the national level. When you're trying to win a bracket, how many good players you have to beat. And I think Brett's fallen, somewhat. I've run into Brett at tournaments and he said, "Hey, so-and-so just threw their tails off. I mean, what can I do? He hit this shot. He hit that shot." I mean, sometimes that's bad luck, right? I mean, sometimes Sometimes it's
That's
the
what happens when you get to that third or fourth game on the winner's side, though. I mean, the players are just going to
exactly,
get better, and they
exactly.
know what's on the other edge of that hill. They want it that much more. So
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd love watching. He's the hitman. Some of the
yep.
most iconic shots in the history of the game belong to that gentleman.
Yeah, you ain't lying there. All right, number 3 on my list. You kind of talked about Brett with a chip on his shoulder. I think Spencer's one that has one on his shoulder as well. Everyone kind of looked at him to win the West Conference qualifier and get in as a pro. He'll be throwing the Brotherhood bags, so I want to kind of get a look at not just him, but how he handles the bags on the main stage. He's one of these big names from the West. We're kind of looking like the West to basically put together that elite talent to kind of match the other countries. I don't think California is necessarily there with Texas and Florida, but some of the youth out there is amazing. Spencer's a part of that program. Came close in the qualifier, came close in the rankings, definitely has the skill level. I want to see how he handles this season with that chip on the shoulder from the outside of the pro division looking in.
Don't you think opens like this one in Iowa are kind of perfect for players like Spencer? Where it's not as deep as open number one, right? It's not going to play like a national. There's some openings here for a player like that to kind of get on a run and kind of feel themselves a little bit in a tournament. I kind of like how these opens work for those kind of players.
Yeah, and the first open, everyone kind of had to travel to that first open for the draft. I mean, we don't really make anything mandatory, but I mean that's as close. It's like the what was it, the preseason football practices. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, got to be at 2 days, man. Yeah.
Yeah, we know if you're not there. You don't have to be there, but we know if you're not there. But yeah, open number one was absolutely stacked. I do agree. It's kind of a smaller field where maybe you have one or two upsets that you have to pull off to get to the end. So this could be a good open for him to break out. Number 4 on my list, Steve Schrader. We kind of talked about him during the draft, falling a little bit further than we thought he would. He's seniors champion. He's up there. He knows how to throw the bags. He knows how to put them in the hole. He's going to be also throwing a new company this year with the Sub-Zero bags. So I want to see how him and Blake do in doubles, but I also want to see how he does driving the truck, getting out there to Iowa, and then turning around and throwing bags the next day. So I want to see if that plays a factor.
So what do you like? So do you think Steve kind of took that personal on draft day?
I don't know, man. He's always kind of jokey and so happy and like stuff like that. It's kind of hard to get a read on him if he's ever in a bad mood or anything. But I don't know if he took it personal. I mean, I think he's happy with where he went. I do think I had him going the second round anyway, and I'm pretty sure didn't the High Rollers take him in the second round?
I can't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
But either way, I mean, I had Steve up there as far as one of the, I guess, veterans to go in the draft, and I think he went right around where I expected him to go. But I think people are kind of overlooking him in his singles game, which he always has deep runs in brackets. He's not one of these players that's going to be too flashy with the shots, but the shots he does have are just really good.
When you think about Steve being in the senior division and you start thinking about great seniors, I think he does get overlooked, and he's beaten all those guys. Right? I mean, he's had great matches against him, but you don't think of him the way you think of Damon Dennis or even a Frank Modlin, but yet Steve's there, right? So I'd like watching Steve play. I think it's a lot of fun, personally.
Yep. Number 5 on my list.
Maybe it's because I'm closer in age to Steve than I am some of the others.
Just a couple boys hanging out, yeah. Number 5 on my list, Gavin Cano. Gavin had a phenomenal rookie season last year. Comes in wanting a lot more. I think Gavin Cano is one of these players that just elevates his game. And then we talked about it earlier. If you lose, it's about how you bounce back from it. And I think Gavin's one of these type of players that he will lose and then put in ridiculous amounts of work to make sure that doesn't happen again. And open number 1, he had a good showing, went deep in brackets. But I want to see how he rebounds from it here in open number 2. Does he elevate his game from open number 1, or where do we go?
It's funny the way you kind of said that. Like, sometimes when I watch players and they lose, you don't get the feeling it's hurting them all that much. But when I watched Gavin lose in the semifinals of the World Championships, I could tell he was hurt. And I liked that. That shows me that guy cares. That guy's competitive. He wants to win. He's all invested emotionally as well as physically. I'm all about that. Like, I watch some players, not going to call anybody name, but they lose, no big deal. Get them next time, whatever, which is great, which is great if you can be that way. But I liked that Gavin was hurt by that loss. I mean, I think that shows a lot about how much he cares about the game. So anytime you put Gavin on a list, I mean, I think he's a threat in any tournament he's in. So.
Yeah, I'll go back to, I think it was Minnesota with the shootout series. He had a good run. I believe he took down singles, but I think him and Fisher lost in doubles. And then after that loss, he's kind of just like, I need to be alone for a second, walked over in the corners, kind of stewed, thought about it quite a bit, and then it's really kind of didn't really lose much after that the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I expect big things out of Gavin. I know he expects big things for himself this season as well. Chat, you guys are still quiet, man. You guys are boring me here. Bernie and I were talking about moving the show up an hour.
Yeah. What do you think about that West Coast?
Yeah, if you guys aren't going to start talking to us, we're just going to put the show on pre-recorded format or something. Come on, Chat. We're live for a reason. Interact with us.
Interact.
Right, we'll take a break. When we come back, a doubles action. So let us know who we missed on singles, and let us know who you guys want to see this week in Des Moines, Iowa for doubles. Be right back. You see that, Bernie? I scared chat. We are back, guys. I scared them into doubling their comments.
Nice. Way to go, Wally. Scare the chat. Seriously, chat, what do y'all think about moving this up to 7 p.m. Eastern? Does that just kill it for the West Coast? Does it matter? Do you care either way?
But I mean, that means I go to sleep earlier, so I'm all about that, man. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the whole running into my evening, I feel settled, and it's like, oh, yeah, there's a show to do from 8 to 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're stuck every single week, so this is your show now, Bernie.
That's why I get out of it so much.
we gotta get you to have hosting privileges, so I can just do this for myself.
I know, man. I've got to figure that out, get that done. I mean, if worst came to worst, I could do it myself, and then people would be bored out of their minds. But
yeah, Justin Germany, what up, man? He says love it. All right, Justin was going to be on my list. I didn't know who his doubles partner was though. But he definitely shined for me in the showcase. So I want to kind of see what he's got to do on the courts.
How far is it for you?
How far was it open? It's like 6 hours. I had the plan on driving it. I was just going to drive up there, but then after driving the 10.5 hours to Nebraska this weekend for the Midwest Conference, I'm kind of like, nah, it's an hour flight. So it's like I can take advantage of this. I won't lose a day. Usually when traveling, you lose a whole day. Like this one, I could just relax a little bit. So they
have airports in Iowa? Kidding, folks. Kidding.
There we go. We're still here on the West Coast. No love. Appreciate the love, Bernie, Wally, and no love as usual from Landon. Oh man, he heard me. mean, look at it this way, man. I was going to show you love, and I was going to give you a lot of compliments, but I came just a little bit short, kind of like that final bag.
Oh wow, that's
Ooh,
painful right there. That is rough.
take that.
Uh, uh.
Let's get into my doubles here. ACL Open number 2, Des Moines, Iowa. We're going to start things off with the poker man himself, Ryan Windsor and Matthew Creekiller. I believe last I heard, Ryan Windsor was still in like the top 11 of that poker tournament. So, I mean, we talked about it before. Does his cornhole game get distracted by his poker game, or which
Yeah.
is more important to him? But either way, man's doing well in everything he does. I'm really interested to see how Windsor and Creek Killers are throwing the kill shot bags and what they decided to go with. We kind of talked to them during their partner reveal, and they mentioned that they like throwing the AK-47s, which are a little bit faster bag. And I don't think of Creek Killers throwing a faster bag at all. So I'm really interested to see what they settle on. We got a chance to see Windsor, I believe, at Spencer's throwing the kill shots. So we know he's pretty comfortable with those, making broadcast out there. But I don't know. What do you think about Windsor and Creek Killers? It'll be our first chance to take a look at them.
Don't you think at this, going into an open, and it's not necessarily the deepest open we're going to see, don't you feel like they've got to be at least bracket final to feel like they've had a good tournament?
Yeah,
with their talent level?
I'm looking at these teams. I'm kind of like, I mean, obviously you got your heavy hitters, but I'm just like, man, I feel like Windsor and Creek Killer could come out with a dub on this one for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like, you look at the list sometimes and you just feel it. Like,
I mean, look. Sometimes, with how rounders work, whatever, you end up in a bracket and it's just loaded and it doesn't work out. Luck's not on your side. But if they get the right bracket, I don't see why they can't. I mean, I would think in their own minds, like, oh man, we should probably be in a bracket final minimum to feel like we've had a successful trip. I don't know. I mean, I think they're that good. I mean, Ryan, how old is Ryan now? What's he, like, 24?
25, 26, I think.
25. All right. So, and it feels like he's like 80, right? He's been around the game for so long, but I think he's actually perfect for Matthew. I think he's a perfect kind of player for Matthew to play with.
Yeah, they actually talk a lot more to each other than you really kind of see. I mean, they're both kind of quiet and don't really talk that much, but they're interactive with each other, which is good. Number 2 on my list, I loved the pairing last season, going away from kill shots and switching to cornhole scenario bags. You kind of pick up a theme that I'm going with here, Bernie. I'm really interested to see all these players with their new bags, really. Alec Ryan and Ethan Walker. I loved what they did. I believe it was South Dakota they paired up there. I thought that was a really good pairing for them. This year, they're going to do it for the entire season. Really interesting because Ethan Walker was in Iowa, just recently moved away to Florida 2 weeks ago. Not him going back to his home turf. We'll see. I guess he always has Iowa in him, but will Iowa show the love, or what's the saying go? I don't know.
Yeah. You can take the boy out of Iowa, but you can't take the Iowa out of the boy. There you go. There it is. I got. I feel like these are two players that actually have a lot to prove. I think that Alec Ryan, this time last season, a lot of people were kind of on the Alec Ryan bandwagon, right? I think a lot of people were kind of picking him to, cause a big stir in the pro division. And I think he would admit it. I don't think the season was what he wanted, from a result standpoint. I think Ethan Walker has shown flashes. Look, watch around the ACL and what Anthony Ione says about Ethan Walker's game and the kind of props he gives him. From a talent perspective, Ethan Walker continues to be elite level talent, but you wonder about, some of the decision making. But I think as he gets older, as he gets more settled in as a professional, I think a lot of that will just kind of play itself out. So I think, but both of these players, because of those different reasons, I think they have a lot to prove this season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this pairing. I want to see their chemistry, but I agree with you. They both made huge strides, were at the upper end of everything, but then just had really, I guess, mediocre seasons as a whole. But yeah. Oh, there's Alec in the chat. Somebody must have messaged him.
So they're talking about you, man.
See you in Iowa County. Tanner says he already won a conference with Big Fish down in Florida. There you go.
There it is.
All right, I'm going to see my list. Jaden Ellis, just on the outside of the pro division through qualifying, teaming up with Carson Getty this year Open. It's going to be interesting to see what bags they decide to go with. I know Carson can pretty much throw anything. Jaden Ellis, one of the best young talents I've kind of latched myself onto the Amateur Player of the Year the last 2 seasons. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go ahead and throw Jaden Ellis in for Amateur Player of the Year, my way too early predictions. So there you go. But Jaden Ellis and Carson Getty, both strong in their own rights. I want to see how they do together.
So what do you think? All right. So what's a good prediction? Like where do you think they would feel happy finishing this weekend?
I think they got top 5 caliber. I don't know how many brackets we're going to do. If we do 4 brackets again, that means they would have to basically finish second in their bracket.
Right.
Depending on how the brackets lay out and how they do in rounders, I think that's definitely within their capabilities.
That's pretty strong. Like, so we're like, all right, so where do you think their bottom would be? Like, all right, if we finish below this, we're going to be disappointed. Same thing? Or do you think they have a different number? Like, all right, look, I don't know. I'd like, because I think it's an interesting pairing. I think it's an interesting pairing. And the only reason I'm asking, I'm curious as to what you think like their ceiling and their floor are this weekend.
Yeah, I feel like if they finish less than 5th in their bracket, it's a failure for the weekend. They're both too good to not finish that high.
No doubt.
All right, number 4 on my list, Elizabeth Tennyson and Quinn Reeves. Elizabeth Tennyson obviously had a pretty strong season last year in the women's division. Curious to see how this pairing came to be, but not sure if you got a chance to catch much of Quinn Reeves at the World Championships. The man was on fire. I'm kind of looking forward to Quinn Reeves this entire season. He's one of these type of people that reaches out to us after the Opens, Nationals, and says, you guys did a great job this last weekend. Thank you for everything that you do. And that means a lot, goes a long way for people like us that just grind nonstop at this sport. I expect big things out of Elizabeth Tennyson this year. That's why I put the K9 logo on her. I believe in her, and I believe in Quinn as well. So I like this pairing. I want to see them do some work this weekend.
Yeah, it is nice to have people say nice things. I mean, I think our skin is pretty thick because it has to be. But, I mean, we're still human beings. It is nice to hear nice things every once in a while, right? And then Elizabeth Tennyson, I think she's getting better and better. Like, she's not having the kind of growth that some players have, like where, you're kind of muddling along, and then you have a great season, and then all of a sudden you're one of the elites of the game, right? It just seems like she's like kind of incrementally getting better and better and better and better. And that's all you can really hope for, right? I mean, it's better than having great season, valley. Great season, valley. I mean, you kind of want that steady climb that Elizabeth's on right now.
Yep, and then number 5 on my list, got a world champion there, Deb Odom. See right there holding the flag. Who doesn't love Deb Odom?
Who doesn't love? If you've got a problem with Deb Odom, you've got a problem.
Yeah, you can delete me if you do.
Facts.
Yeah, so Deb Odom teaming up with Gary Bearpaw. I can kind of understand how this partnership came to be. If I'm not mistaken, Gary, another horseshoe player. So they're from the same area as Zoe Gann. I'm pretty sure they had some communications to get this pairing to go together. But Gary Bearpaw is one of the players that I consider a top 50 player in the entire country. I love this pairing. I think it's going to be sneaky fun. And I think they're going to have a deep run. These are 2 names that I could see getting to a bracket final without people expecting it. Like if there's betting odds on this, I like this squad.
I'm not as familiar with Gary, I'll be honest. So you're saying top 50. That's impressive. That's high praise. Look, when it comes to Deb Odom, I wish Deb Odom never lost a point.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, Deb Odom is, she's kind of found herself. I mean, obviously she's kind of a matriarch for the Texas boys, right? Like she's mom to a lot of those guys, but she's kind of becoming mom to all of us. And she's a very special person in this game. So honestly, whenever things are going well for Deb Odom, I'm happy. So I'd love to see her play well anytime.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we see a lot more of Gary Bearpaw. I'll definitely make sure I try and get them on the court at one point for you guys to kind of see if you're not there in person. But Deb Odom and Gary Bearpaw, 2, I guess, kind of OGs that are new to the sport.
That makes sense.
I mean, they're well-respected players, put it that way, and I think pairing up should be a really good run. All right, one more stretch, Bernie. We're going to take a commercial break, chat. We'll come back with Bernie's doubles right after this. chat. Welcome back. ACL Live. We're wrapping things up here as we discuss open number 2 in Des Moines, Iowa. K9 and Bernie. We've already gone through our singles list. I went through my doubles list. Tanner says Barry has over a 10 PPR in lifetime. That's
Wow.
pretty good. That's
That's not bad, is it? Is that okay?
Yeah, so we'll see. I saw Landon wishing me to have internet problems at this open. So, again, chat, if you want to, feel free to interact. Hop over to YouTube for a second. Had 2 people over there as a comment. One wishes to have a good show, so thank you. At least Fishy T and then Duncan, or not Duncan, something Clemmer. I don't know. Either way, appreciate you. I forgot already. But we're winding things down here. Let's go ahead and get into Bernie's doubles list. Bernie, go ahead.
They won the first one. I mean, I've got to put them on the list. Obviously, kicking off last season so strong out of the blocks, especially in the national scene. You win the first Open. Now, do you defend it? I think a lot of times we have this top 5, and it's just players and teams to watch. We don't really predict them in order. I think they win. I think they go back to back. And I
have a problem with this. I have a problem with this. Alan Rawls wins. He gets no love.
I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk. But Alan's not playing this weekend, is he?
No, but I'm saying it's not the same.
Hey, man, if Alan was playing this weekend, he'd be on my singles to watch. Don't kid yourself.
Okay.
But look, JBJ, everyone kind of like of the 2 players, he's the better singles player. I think that gap has shrunk. Yeah. I think Logan has gotten better and better and better and believes in himself now to where I think he's fully aware of how good he is as a player. And so I expect, what he finished 13th, 14th, 16th, something like that in the end of last season. I would not be surprised at all if he finishes this season in the top 10 minimum as a singles player.
He's come a long way since that singles finals against Schermerhorn in Mesa, Arizona. He's definitely up there in the what I would consider an elite category. Heather, how you doing? Appreciate you coming in. But yeah, Logan and Justin, you see right there in the picture, just straight cash. Their money when they play together. I'm just messing with you, Bernie.
No. I actually think it's fun. I think Logan's fun the way that he interacts and he can talk a little smack and get a little chippy. I think when he keeps that down, he's even better. And I like when he gets that way, and I like when there's a little chatter, and I like when he gets a little chippy, and guys are kind of going back and forth. But I think sometimes he reminds me of Adam Hisner in a way that way, where he can get so caught up in that he kind of forgets he's playing.
I just want to make sure it stays fun with him, and not necessarily because of the interaction between him and other players, but I think we talked about it way before with Jackson and Jake Gore. Whenever they were talking trash, they weren't really focused on the game. They were kind of thinking about what they wanted to say next.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like he could lose his focus because he's ready to dish out that next piece of trash talk.
Sure. I agree 100%. Number 2, Philip Lopez Jr. and Steven Bernasette. I like to harp on guys, especially early in the season, that have chips on their shoulder. I think Philip Lopez Jr. definitely fits in that category. I think a guy that is a great singles player in his own right. I think if you asked a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, he played with Mark Richards. That's why he had so much success, blah, 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 blah. I think he's got a ton of proof. And I think Steven Bernasette wants to get back and to be considered one of the true elites of the game. I love this pairing. Actually, I'm not sure about Bag, but I love the pairing. I love the 2 guys together. So I've really got an eye on them this weekend.
I'm right there with you. I was going to throw them on my list, but I saw your list first. Philip Lopez Jr. was a mover and shaker for me in open number 1. I was beyond impressed with how he was able to throw those Titan bags this last weekend. I was not expecting him to come out and be that good. We know how good Bernasette could be. He went through that kind of shaky partnership situation last season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to see him playing with somebody who just wants to kind of get at it. And I don't think they're going to be underdogs for much longer.
No, I'm with you. Number 3, your boy, Jeremy Frazier and Ian Cripps. I like this pairing. I really do. I think you're talking about 2 players that are on the come up, right? Ian Cripps goes from a couple seasons ago qualifying essentially on the last weekend to keep his pro card. And then last year jumps all the way up into the top 40, right? And that to those out there in the world, that may not sound like a huge a huge thing, a huge accomplishment. But in the ACL Pro Division, to get into the top 40, you are an elite cornhole player. And Jeremy Frazier, a player that you've been hot on Jeremy for a while. I picked Jeremy to be my breakout player of the year preseason. I think he's headed obviously in an upward direction. So I love this pairing of these two guys.
Yeah, Jeremy Frazier just continues to do everything right now. I mean, there's a post out there for Ian Cripps, or I think it was Jeremy posted he was looking for a partner, and then shout out to Brandy. She said, Jeremy, throw with Ian. And I right away, I was like, I love that. Do it. I want to see it. And now they're actually sponsored by the same bag company, so it just makes sense. There's really not going to be too much of a learning curve here. They just get to the boards, throw, and do really, really well. So would love to see them take this one down.
Yeah, no doubt. Number 4, I actually have on this list for a completely different reason.
Okay.
Shibby, Zach Chibner, Shibby, and Hunter Thorne. Hunter's got a broken ankle.
Mm-hmm.
How does this work when one of the two has a broken ankle? I love both these guys. I'm a huge fan. I'm curious as to how far you can go as a doubles team when one of the players is playing on a broken ankle. And I know the boots are really good nowadays, and they do as much as they can to take pressure off of the joints, blah, blah, blah. It's still going to hurt, especially when you're on it all day. It's going to throb. And I'm curious to see how they can play and compete with one of the players has a broken ankle. I'm curious.
Yeah, I loved what I saw out of Zach Shibner last season in doubles. Him and Gage Landis were really, really great. Hunter Thorne made that stride we're all talking about. He was nominated for most improved player, I believe. But yeah, Scooter McGavin this weekend, he's going to be struggling to try and get around. But I mean, Shibby's a big boy. You can probably just carry him court to court and they'll be fine. Just plop him. Hunter, he always likes to sit in the chair anyway.
That's true.
He is a young guy who likes to sit in a chair. Now he doesn't have to. He can probably just bring a wheelchair. He'll be fine.
My number 5, Evan Banos and Broden Rarig. Is that how you say his name? Rarig?
Dude, he's told me how to say his name.
I know. I've heard it too, and I can't remember it. It blows my mind. I can't remember it.
I believe it is Rarig.
Rarig, yeah. All right. So first off, Evan Banos in our skills competition and whatever you wanted to call the rookie seminar that we had, that was essentially like a combine before open number 1. I was doing the airmail section, and Evan Banos had the highest score in my airmail section.
Okay.
And just the way, I don't know, man, does that mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. But when you talk about the Sammy Sotos and a lot of these other guys that were coming through there, and Evans the leading scorer out of that, that's pretty impressive to me. I thought Braden had a couple of big moments last season where he kind of got his name mentioned quite a bit. So are they going to win? No. But could they be a team that maybe there's an upset here? I would not be surprised at all to see that happen.
Yeah, two players very familiar with each other. I know Broden threw Ultra bags last season, and Evan sponsored by Ultra this season, both out of the Michigan area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they have to go through a learning curve of hey, I'm looking for a partner. Does anyone want to throw with me? I mean, they're very familiar with what each other can do. So I don't think it's going to be that hard for them to get on the same page. I was actually on the opposite end, though, with Evan as far as our push station goes. He wasn't really.
Oh, really?
I thought he would do. He put more bags on the ground than I kind of thought he would, missing left or right.
Uh-oh. See?
Maybe he needs to go to that airmail. But it's not like he did terrible. He just didn't really stand out. And the way that he qualified at the World Championships, I kind of was expecting him to be a standout. But, it's also one of these things, too. It's, I know the kid, and I've seen him play before, and I know what he's capable of. He just didn't have it, that day. I think people kind of look at me the same way. They're like, "Oh, I thought you were better at cornhole." I'm like, "No, I just talk about it a lot, So maybe because I'm too familiar with him, I expected more."
By the way, Broden, sorry, I've butchered your name for the last 2.5 minutes. I really apologize, but I've seen you play. I like your game, Evan. I'm hoping show us a little something. Mm-hmm. This is your chance. You're a rookie. Show us something. This is once again, I think these kinds of opens are perfect for players like this. There's openings there, right? It's not completely stacked with elite talent. There is some there, but it's not, filled with it everywhere. So there's a chance to make runs for players like this. So I'm curious. I hope they can make a little run this weekend.
Yeah. Tanner says, don't sleep on that comp doubles conference win this weekend, Wally. So, Bernie, if you don't know, at the Midwest Conference Championships, I played with Pat Pilger. Shout out to Pat. We're not going to do a bagging and bragging show this week. Michelle's on vacation, and I'll be traveling. So I wanted to go ahead and do my bragging segment here where I got a couple extra minutes.
Yes.
Took down the doubles championship with Patty P. We had a good time out there. With that being said, I want to go ahead and disclose all the facts because some people will call me a sandbagger. I was definitely not the strongest PPR. We went undefeated, ended up the number 1 seed out of rounders. We went undefeated, had the king seat in bracket, waited that hour and a half break. You know how you have to wait for the loser's bracket to catch back up.
Mm-hmm.
First game in the championship, your boy threw a 4.33 PPR.
Let's go. Let's go.
So, yeah, that's how you get called a sandbagger and then get carried. Now, the next game, I do have to say, I was able to kind of control the center of the lane, block, and hit my pushes and stuff like that. But it's just, man, for those, and the game only lasted 4 rounds, man. We lost 21-1. But
yikes.
Yeah, for those 4 rounds that we were playing, man, I was struggle busting. But yeah, overall, man, we had a good time. But yeah, no show for us. So if anybody doesn't know, I made a post earlier today. Bernie and myself, we are in charge of selling the sponsorship spots for the Open.
Yes.
So I figured while we got the platform here, let's go ahead and put it out there. If anybody is looking to get their brand on the live feeds, if you want to sponsor lead changes, you want to sponsor replays, bag selection scenes, whatever. If you have something that you're looking to sponsor and you want to get your brand and logo out there, reach out to Bernie, reach out to myself, and we'll do the best we can to make it happen.
And if you want to sponsor some segments on these shows, we have availability on our shows that we do with Borderline, Bagging and Bragging, ACL Live. We do have space available if you want to. If your logo and your brand, you want it seen on these shows, reach out to us. We'll definitely make it happen for you. We have a lot of leeway. We have a lot of leeway to make things happen.
Well, I mean, I got Eddie's shirt on me. You got a collab going right now for Sub-Zero, so I was like, I'll show Eddie some love. And then we did have West Texas Outlaw Cornhole and a Podium Pro Apparel come through, so they give me a hat. So there you go. There's his logo right here on the feed. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to get your exposure out there. Just don't be afraid to reach out to us. I mean, if there's something that we can't do, hey, at least you asked, we tried. But
sure.
I expect big things for this season. Open number 2 in Des Moines, Iowa this weekend. We're going to have a lot of fun. Bernie, I appreciate you joining me. Good list, my friend.
Always, my friend.
That's it. We'll see you guys in Des Moines on Friday. Here you go.
See ya.